Okay, thank you very much for tuning in. We're really excited about Nuclear Science Week here at Idaho State University this year. We are dedicating our new reactor console. This ribbon cutting ceremony is something we've looked forward to for probably about 15 to 20 years. We'll be honoring my friend and colleague, Dr. Jay Coons, for all of the work that he did in making sure that this work got finished. We'll be honoring my colleague, Dr. Mary Lou Dunsig-Gallagher, who is the president of the American Nuclear Society, and we'll be honoring our late colleague, Dr. Michael Longberry, for all of his contributions to nuclear engineering here at Idaho State University. I'd like to introduce our president, Kevin Satterley, who was kind enough to participate in this ribbon-cutting ceremony, and we're very grateful to have him here. He's going to offer some words, and then we'll introduce Jay Coons.
Thank you, Dr. Pope. Appreciate that. Very happy to be here today. Nuclear Science Week is important. It's important for our society and obviously for our university and our nuclear engineering program. You know, in the United States, about 20% of all the electrical power in this country currently comes from nuclear energy. And while none of us know the exact future for nuclear power in this country, we do know one thing. We know that as of last Friday, the United States Department of Energy announced that they're going to spend $1.4 billion on the future of small nuclear reactors to be designed for our nation and the world, and they're going to spend that right here in Idaho at one of our partners, the Idaho National Laboratory just up the road. So while none of us can predict exactly what will happen with nuclear power in the future, we do know for a fact that for the last 45 years, Dr. Jay Coons has been a preeminent fixture and leader in the field of nuclear engineering. As a fellow of both the American Nuclear Society and the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Dr. Coons has just this year also received the Engineer of the Year Award from the Eastern Idaho Engineering Council. And for 11 years of your career, Jay, you served as the Dean of the College of Engineering here at Idaho State University, for which we are all grateful and thankful. And for 3 years, you were chairman of our nuclear engineering department. Even after Jay resigned and retired in 2013, he continued to serve this university in teaching upper division and graduate level classes ever since. We all owe you our thanks for that. As we look into the future of nuclear power and what it might be for this country, Idaho State University will play a role in its development. Due to our connection with the Idaho National Lab, and due in large part to the contributions of Jay for the last 45 years, Idaho State University will be involved in that future. Your contributions and service to the entire field, like to the review board for the Department of Energy's materials focus area, and your service as a facilities administrator in numerous critical facilities at the National Lab attest to your service. But specifically, your service right here at Idaho State University, and 18 years as the administrator for our very own reactor here on campus, the AGN 201 training reactor. Your service in that will go on. And while doing so, and part of that, you recently helped complete the long in-process project of a new reactor console for the AGN 201. That is why it is so fitting today for me to announce that in addition to honoring and recognizing you for your years of service, we are officially naming the AGN 201 training reactor console in honor of Dr. Jay Coons for your service. So please, everyone join me, and everyone here online join me in celebrating the naming of this console, the dedication of this console, and in honoring you, Jay, for your years of service. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Much appreciated. There's an old saying that you've all heard. It takes a village to, I guess you know what the rest of it is.
Raise a child.
Raise a child. It takes a village to complete an engineering project, especially one like this. I'd like to recognize people who really contributed to this, and it goes back quite a few years. First of all, I asked any PhD student, Ashok Georgia. He came to us about 15 years ago from India, completed his electrical engineering master's degree here, and went to work in the oil industry for a number of years. Came back about 2 years ago and finished his master's degree in nuclear engineering. And that master's degree consisted of much of the design and documenting much of the design for this new console. I sure really appreciate your work, especially in the last 2 years. This wouldn't have been done without you, Keith. I'd like to also recognize my colleagues, of course, Dr. Chad Pope, Dr. Mary Ludunza Gauger, Dr. George Immel, and Dr. Rich Bray. All have been keys to getting this done. The makers of the console, those who really put it together, built the project for it, is Jim Larson, retired from Argonne West in Idaho Falls a number of years ago. He worked at Argonne for many, many years. He was their chief electrical engineer. He's the one that really designed the intricacies of this new console. And Craig Schall, who also worked at the National Lab, there in the National Lab, and he also worked for us here in the Department of Nuclear Engineering. Once he retired, he had started putting things together for us, and we continued to hire him on a part-time basis, and he donated much of his time. He's the one that made the outstanding drawings for the reactor, and he put together much of the parts that are inside of it. The cheerleaders for the project, I'd like to recognize them. Bill Phoenix, for one, and Stuart Bondurant. Bill has many, many years of experience in the nuclear power industry throughout the world, as well as in the United States. And he's been a real cheerleader for us over the last 2 years, saying, "You're going to get it done." And he helped us a lot, donated his time. It's a long history. Shortly after I came back to Idaho to be the Dean of Engineering here at ISU, it became obvious to me that this reactor was, at that time, it was only 40 years old, sorry. It's now 65 years old, 55 years old, get this right. It became obvious that things weren't going to work so well. The wiring was fraying, the capacitors were bulging. But most of all, the big problem was it had vacuum tubes in it. And we hadn't used vacuum tubes in the United States for about 20 years before that. For a while they had trouble getting vacuum tubes, then they couldn't get them at all. And they'd burn out, and finally the reactor supervisor found out he could get them from Russia. So for the last about 20 years, we've been buying tubes through a source from Russia to replace the burned out vacuum tubes in this console. A lot of people have been involved, from our present reactor supervisor, Jonathan Scott, and our senior reactor operator, Ted Bollock, to other reactor supervisors, Max Daniels, Matt Beatty, who was senior reactor operator for a number of years, Adam Malakote, Kenyon Hart, Don Montenegro, who works now at the Idaho National Lab for the Navy, did much of the documenting of the original console as well as what would come into the new console. Dr. John Benyon was our reactor supervisor for many, many years and did a lot of work on getting this started and going. He now works for General Electric in North Carolina. This is the third attempt. We had 2 previous attempts, which tried to make some changes in the console, bring them up to, I guess you want to say, modern standards. But it became obvious after many university reactors throughout the nation were having to make changes to get rid of the vacuum tubes in their consoles and get new consoles. Many of them hired outside nuclear and electrical engineering firms to do the work for them. It was expensive. They spent lots of money. they never got it done because they had to get all new designs completely approved by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. That was a major effort. So for our third and this last attempt, we decided we weren't going to be inventors. We're going to duplicate the old console with new parts, without vacuum tubes or with transistors, and we're going to have it functionally exactly the same as the old console. We took this idea to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and at first they were a little bit dubious after all the problems they'd had with other reactors in the nation. Said, I'm not sure you can do this. Well, we worked on it for a year and a half, and I invited them out last fall. They came out in December, spent 3 days with us going over our design, satisfied that functionally we had put together exactly the same console, and it looks the same. We used the parts from an old console that came from Oregon State University. So the two consoles look exactly the same, except for some details where the operators were. Then the pandemic shut us down in March. We were shut down for over 2 months. Near the end of May, the university allowed us to have as many as 5 people in this reactor bay at one time to work on the new console. And on June the 8th of this year, it went critical with Dr. Mary Lou Dunza-Geiger, Senior Reactor Operator at the controls. I need to tell you about the fabulous job she's done. After I retired and I was administrator for 2 NRC licenses, I continued to work as that administrator for a while, and then I realized, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is not going to like the idea that a retired faculty member is in charge of these 2 licenses. Somebody's got to take it over. Mary Lou, Dr. Dunza-Geiger, was the chairman of Nuclear Engineering Department at that time. She said, I'll do it. She had no experience running reactors before that, but she stepped to the plate. She became a licensed reactor operator, and then 6 months later, she took the exam for senior reactor operator, passed that. She served very effectively as a senior reactor operator and as a reactor administrator all the time when she was chair of the department, and then she became the associate dean of the College of Science and Engineering. We're so pleased to see this history come to an end. As I told you, it takes a village to make this happen. We're not finished yet. There are a number of things that need to be done. The console's new. We will cut the ribbon on it, but the reactor's old. There are parts of the reactor that need to be replaced. Fortunately, the Department of Energy gave us a research contract to build new control rods. That'll be undergoing this year. I'm greatly appreciative of the work that all of you in this room and many of those that I mentioned have done. And it couldn't have been done without all of you that have been cited, and many others as well. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Satterley, President Satterley, for being with us these last 2 years to see this get done.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for everything.
I'd like to cut the ribbon. I'd like to invite Dr. Dunza-Geiger and Dr. Holopop to help me cut it. These are in order.
Oh, yay!
Nice decoration.
Thank you. Okay, we're not finished. This is a great week, and we want to honor some additional people. Dr. Mary Lou Dunza-Geiger is the president of the American Nuclear Society, and she's ours. And we're very, very happy for her accomplishment and what it what it does for her, and of course what it does for us. And I'd like to bring her up here and give her an opportunity to say a few words. We framed the American Nuclear Society Trade Magazine cover, Nuclear News, that focused on her and her background and her election. And so we want to present her with that and give her an opportunity to offer some words here for Nuclear Science Week. So let me grab that for you.
Note that there's also a diagram of our AGN 201 right there on the front cover. Went to 10,000 members. Just a little bit of free advertising there. President's out of it. Thanks very much. Well, Dr. Coons has done a great job of already thanking people, and I couldn't do it any better. There have been so many people involved, and I've sort of come in late in the game, but I'm very honored to be part of the group. You also mentioned that I was the one at the helm, if you will, when we went critical for the first time in this council. And I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I didn't become a licensed operator until into my fifth decade, but boy, has it been fun, and I've learned a lot. I joked with my colleagues, I felt a little bit like Neil Armstrong that day, going critical for the first time. So it's quite an accomplishment, and I'm proud to be part of the group. I'm honored by a lot of things today, including being part of this group that has put together this council and really made it work. I'm honored having been chosen by my fellow ANS members to serve as president. I've been very active with the American Nuclear Society for over 20 years, and it's helped me grow professionally. It's a society that I think is important for our students to learn about because it's also opportunity for them to grow and develop professionally. So we support that here. We have an active student section. Over the years, I've been able to work with people that I never would have met otherwise. People from industry and other areas that you don't meet every day when you're in academia. I mentioned being honored by a lot of things. In addition to operating the council and being chosen as president, I'm honored because I'm being recognized at the same time as Dr. Jay Coons and Dr. Michael Longberry, who have served as mentors to me. I feel a little intimidated, in fact, being recognized at the same time, because I admire them both very much. Thank you, Jay, for everything you've done for me over the years. Wish I could say thanks again to Michael Longberry, but he knew I liked him, so I think we're good. Really, that's, I can't ask for much more than that. But one more comment I'd like to make is I'm honored to be part of the faculty here at Idaho State. We have a strong program. In addition to having a pretty gee-whiz cool reactor that students can operate, we're strong faculty. People like Dr. Pope and Dr. Coons and I, we love teaching. We like working with our students. We want them to succeed. And you can't say that about every faculty everywhere. We work well together. We're cohesive. So I'm honored to be part of that group as well since, 2004. It's been a while. So thanks again. Dr. Pope, back to you.
The last part of this Nuclear Science Week presentation, I want to take care of some unfinished business. I want to talk for just a few minutes about a person who's had a significant impact on a lot of people in this room and outside of this room. Speaking about Dr. Michael Longberry. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts about Michael and how important he is. We lost Michael on March 6, 2014, and it was a shock to us. It was very painful. And quite frankly, we've been a little bit delinquent here in recognizing his impact, and we're trying to rectify some of that today. Now, out of respect for Michael, I'm going to keep these comments as brief as I can. I'm going to tell you about one of the last emails he sent me. I was a new faculty member here, and I asked him if I had to go to commencement. I didn't know. He wrote this. He said, it is entirely up to you. The pomp and circumstance is enough to make almost anyone puke in normal measure. He then said, don't quote me on that. You can't do anything about it now. My relationship with Michael is a full circle relationship. I was an undergraduate student here at ISU in 1988, and I took his reactor physics course. After I graduated, I went to work for Argonne National Laboratory under the direction of Michael Longberry. When I was 41 years old in 2005, I went to Michael and I asked him whether or not it would be a good idea for me to pursue a PhD. I knew he could be blunt, and I appreciated that, because if he thought it was a bad idea, he would have told me. To the contrary, he was very excited about it. He agreed to be my PhD supervisor. And in 2011, it was my honor to be hooded by Michael. And the story continued because in 2013, I was hired here at Idaho State University, my alma mater, to be a professor in nuclear engineering. And in that first semester, I got to co-teach reactor physics with Michael. So 25 years later, I'm teaching the class that I took with him. It was awesome. So it's not an overstatement to say that Michael Longberry has had the most significant impact on my career. I am infinitely richer because my path crossed his. I don't need to give you a long history of all of his accomplishments. There's a couple that are worth mentioning. Caltech PhD. They don't hand those out in Cracker Jack boxes. He won the Ernest Lawrence Award in 1982. This is a very prestigious Department of Energy award. His name is on the list with names like Feynman and Weinberg. It's a very prestigious award. There's a very long list of students, myself included, Dr. Gallagher included, who have been influenced by Michael Longberry, a very powerful influence. I want to share just a little bit of the experience I had with him to help you understand the kind of person that he was. If you ask me what do I remember, what I'll tell you is his lectures were a lot of fun. It only took a couple of key questions early in the lecture to get him to deviate on a completely different topic. He would still be richly taught, but it would be not what he intended on accomplishing. More than once he accused me of posing such questions, and indeed I'm guilty of that. I remember my first interaction with Michael, the fall of 1988. Reactor physics, a very challenging course, and his reputation was well known as a difficult, challenging professor. It was offered once a week, 3-hour lecture, 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I showed up 10 minutes early at 6:20. Michael had begun lecturing at 6:15. At 6:30, he turned from the chalkboard and said, "Now look, damn it, if I have to be here on time, so will you." I waited 20 years to summon enough courage to inform him that he had started early. Yes, he was intimidated, and he laughed at me when I told him that. But what I remember also about Michael is that he was deeply concerned about his students. In the fall of 2013, when we were finishing up that reactor physics class, we were grading the final exams. And he talked about the need to improve the course. He'd been teaching this for 25 years. We need to improve it, he said. We need to do a better job. The students learn differently now. We need to make adjustments. He cared about his students. He wanted them to succeed. As we graded those exams, Michael reflected on his friend, Harry Sharyuler, former dean of the College of Engineering here at Idaho State University. And as Michael did that, he began to cry. Because Harry had died suddenly. And Michael was shocked by that, and it hurt. I didn't really understand that pain until now. It was very painful for him, and it remains very painful for us. But behind that exterior, that rough exterior, Michael was a man who was focused on justice and fairness, and importantly, he took active steps to achieve those things, some of which I won't share today. But his strategy was simple. He said to me, he said, "It will never be easier or cheaper to do it later. Do it, whatever it is, now." He was right. I love Michael Longberry. I miss him dearly, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share my emotions with you about Michael. I'm thrilled that we have a new console. I'm thrilled that I got to meet Dr. Coons. I'm thrilled that Dr. Gowder's the A&S president here with us today. I'm thrilled that the president of the university took time out of his schedule to be here for this. This is a great tribute to our program. We love nuclear engineering and we love ISU. And I'll let the president do the roar Bengals roar part.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, the roar Bengals roar. We're just thrilled with this week, and I hope you enjoy watching this. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.